so glad to see your faces here and online. And this morning we're going to start off with a blessing by Elevation Worship. And so we hope it is a blessing to you. And just a reminder that God is with us no matter where we are, what season of our lives, that He is with us in the morning, in the evening, in our coming and our going, our weeping and our rejoicing. He is always going to be for us. He's always on our side. So with that, the blessing.
May His favor be upon you and 1,000 Good morning, community of God. I know that the night might have been a little bit dark, a little bit short, but the sun is shining. This morning, I want us to be focusing on some appearances. First, let me tell you some of the announcements in the bulletin. For those of you who are here and have bulletins, there are a few added. For those of you at home, please listen. First thing you need to know about is Missions Committee. You will have a short 5-minute meeting up here in the front right after the service ends. So Missions Committee members, please come up here as soon as you possibly can. We've got important things to be talking about in reaching the world. Also want to make sure that everybody knows that the Essentials Seniors will be meeting tonight. That's over in the Fellowship Hall. Thank you, Lord, for the Fellowship Hall. At 6 p.m. That's 6 p.m. tonight. Ladies, you're going to be meeting tomorrow. The Fellowship Committee, the Missionary Fellowship will be meeting tomorrow night. But that'll be at the home of Dolores Franklin. And Dolores is the only person on this entire side that's wearing all white. So if you don't know who Dolores is and you want to come, you can get all the details you need from her as well as the bulletin. Don't forget, we've got theology classes. These classes are for anybody. This is going to be telling us about our relationship with God and how we can deepen our walk with God. The first class is tomorrow night, Monday night. That'll be downstairs in the basement at 7 p.m. The second one is Wednesday evenings, and that'll be at our usual time when we have all the other ministries going on. And if you don't have something going on Wednesday night, please come to that, because this is one of those that will definitely rock your boat and set you on sail for the rest of the week. Also, make sure that you note we do have our other ministries, children's ministries in the zone and Pulse meeting on Wednesdays. Now, prayer requests. We have the prayer requests in the bulletin. We're going to continue to Philip Lane's hand heals up well. We want to continue to pray for Clay. Clay had a heart attack. They've been trying to figure out how to put a stent in to help his heart function, and they haven't been able to do it as far as I could hear. So we need to pray that the doctors have some amazing wisdom to do some amazing process so that he can have that heart function restored. Please continue to pray for Mrs. Chambers, Sylvia's mother, as she's recovering from hip surgery. Charlene Jackson Rogers' mother is going through the cancer treatments. Pray for her healing and the strength and encouragement that she needs every single day going through this. We want to continue to pray for the president and the people of the Ukraine. I can't imagine what this morning they're going through. But I do know from history, from experience, that no matter how hard things are, no matter even if you're meeting in a smelly subway tube, church makes a huge difference when we get together, when we worship God. This morning, as I pray in just a minute, we're going to be praying for them, that their witness goes out, that their encouragement continues to be full. I want to add one other. We want to pray for John Rogers. This is Ron and Dolores' son. He's going to go through emergency gallbladder surgery this morning. They have to first remove a gallstone and then go through the surgery. So it's a double procedure. We need to be praying for him. And we do want to pray. If you've noticed in your bulletins, there's an insert for the Haymans. God has been doing work through them even during the COVID era in Slovakia. And now they've got an additional ministry as the refugees from Ukraine are coming across the border. Because their pastor, the pastor of their church, is from Ukraine, he has a special access to these people. So we need to be praying for the Haymans, as they already have 6 in their home, and there may be more coming. With all that, with the needs of us this morning, for the needs of the world that we'll be reaching as we leave here, would you please bow your heads, close your eyes, put your mind on the sovereign who sits above us in heaven on his throne, waiting to listen. God, we now come to you and ask on behalf of others, first, that you would guide the missions committee in their meeting, the seniors tonight, the ladies' missionary fellowship tomorrow night, the theology classes, that each one of these leads to even greater things. We want to ask and intercede for Philip, that his hand would heal up perfectly. For Clay, that the doctors do find that process that's going to make his heart function better, that it comes soon. For Mrs. Chambers, that her healing continues and that you prevent her from any kind of injury. For Charlene, we ask that you'd encourage her today and every day with your word, that she sees a bright hope that just lightens up her life, and that you'd heal her of this cancer. I want to pray for the Haymans, that you'd give them in a crowded home such a delight in hosting, that your grace shows to those Ukrainians staying with them, that the Ukrainian refugees not just coming across into Slovakia, but all the borders, Poland and others, that you give them direction to places that would truly help them. And for the people who are remaining in that torn nation, we ask for your protection from physical harm, spiritual harm, and that those who are meeting even today, who've already met and will be meeting tonight, God, that you give them such a great love for one another, such a joy in worshiping you, that many others come to faith in you, that they truly do have a great awakening. And Father, we do pray for John as he's going through the emergency procedures this morning for the gallbladder, that you would wonderfully heal him, that he's quickly out from the pain, from the upset, from the sickness, and recovers fully. We are so thankful that we can come to you with all of these things. We want to add for the joy that comes before us, that you continue to give us the words to say, the boldness to say it, and the grace that will indeed show you to many people this week. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Listen to these words from Titus. Paul, writing from a desperate situation, tells this young man, "For the grace of God has appeared, bringing salvation for all people, training us to renounce ungodliness and worldly passion, and to live self-controlled, upright, godly lives in the present age, waiting for our blessed hope, the appearing of the glory of our great God and Savior, Jesus Christ, who gave himself for us to redeem us from all lawlessness and to purify for himself a people for his own possession who are zealous for good deeds."
One, two, three, four.
There's a grace when the heart is under fire, another way when the walls are closing in. And when I look at the space between where I used to be and this reckoning, I know I will never be alone. There was another in the fire, standing next to me. There was another in the waters, holding back the seas. And should I ever need reminding of how I've been set free, there is a cross that bears the burden.
You can all still stay standing. Oh, church, arise. This is a battle cry, I think, to our church family, to Christians worldwide, that the church needs to wake up. As we look at the environment, we look at what's going on globally. Oh, church, arise. This is our battle call. Please join us.
Oh, church, arise and put your armor on. Hear the call of Christ our captain. For now the weak can say that they are strong in the strength that God has given. With shield of faith and belt of truth, we'll stand against the devil's lies. An army bold, whose battle cry is love, reaching out to those in darkness. Our call to war, to love the captive soul, but to rage against the captor. And with the sword that makes the wounded whole, we will fight with faith and valor. When faced with trials on every side, we know the outcome is secure, and Christ will have the prize for which he died, an inheritance of nations. So Spirit, come, put strength in every stride, give grace for every hurdle, that we may run with faith to win the prize of the servant good and faithful. As saints of old still line the way, retelling triumphs of his grace. We hear their calls and hunger for the day when with Christ we stand in glory.
So much. You may be seated. Wonderful. Thank you, Kim. All right. Come on back. I was thinking about it. Ben's wondering if I want to play the tambourine. I'm thinking about it. That'd be a lot of fun. All right. Good morning. Take your Bibles and turn to Ecclesiastes chapter 4. We're going to get to Ecclesiastes 4, continuing in our study through the book of Ecclesiastes. But while you're doing that, let me mention this. Next Sunday, we're going to have a special day. We've been talking about this some, but we haven't announced it until right now. We want to let you know that next Sunday we'll have a special day. We're going to have what we're calling a Heritage Sunday. A number of months ago, I don't know, maybe a little over a year ago, we had a Youth Sunday where our teens invited us, all the older people of the church, to come into over to the fellowship hall, and they wanted to share their worship with us, and we joined in with them. Had a really great time. A lot of fun. They led the service and everything. A lot of smoke. Zach smoked, so we had a lot of things going. It was a lot of fun. It was a great time. But what we'd also like to do is to have a Heritage Sunday, and so we want to invite the younger people of the church into worship from some of the older perspectives. So next Sunday, we're going to have a special time. It'll be a day filled with a lot of fun things. You can look forward to a special Chucktastic trio. If you don't want to know what that is, come back next week and you'll find out. It'll be a lot of fun. The Chucktastic trio, I made that up all by myself, Sandra. We'll also have a number of hymn medleys. That'll be a great time. We will have an old country church ensemble that they've been working and meeting for a number of weeks. That'll be neat. And then we will also have the long-lost covered dish meal. It's been forever, right, Roger? Been forever since we've had a covered dish meal. And a covered dish meal at Community Baptist Church is something to behold. Come back to next week. We will have a covered dish meal. Now, I know a lot of you ladies, we haven't had one of these for a very long time. So you've got a pent-up meal in you. So next week, I want you just to cook your heart out. Bring whatever you want, and we will clear the tables, I promise. It'll be a lot of fun. Bring friends, bring family. We'll have a really great time. That'll be next week for just a real special time and the meal, and we'll have everything all set up over in the fellowship hall. It's been a long time coming. Been looking forward to doing something like this for a while, so we will get involved in that next week. All right, let's come back into our study in the book of Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes is an interesting book. It's a challenging book. It's a challenging book theologically. It's a challenging book spiritually and emotionally. In some ways, it's draining. I'll tell you how challenging this book has been for me. I was informed earlier this week that my title slides have misspelled the book of Ecclesiastes the entire time. And none of you said it. Nobody said anything. Everybody's going, I've been seeing it. I knew it. No, you didn't. You didn't know it either. Did you, Sandra? Oh, you see, we got a couple of nerds. All right, so that's embarrassing. This is how intimidating the book of Ecclesiastes is. I misspelled the book of Ecclesiastes, but it's kind of par for the course because Ecclesiastes is just a crazy book. It's a strange book. It's a book from, how crazy is this? A book in the Bible given to us by God from a secular perspective. How in the world can God give a secular perspective? God gives us all perspectives of life. And the Bible is so amazing, so fascinating, how God gives us from every angle. We get to see our world, our life, this life, from every single angle. And the book of Ecclesiastes covers, incredibly important, incredibly foundational topics, meaning and significance, justice, satisfaction. Today what we're going to talk about is this is a topic that is relevant, practical, it's necessary, it touches literally every single one of us. And what the writer of Ecclesiastes is going to talk about today is work. Very interesting. Work. How do we view our work? We have a love-hate relationship with work, don't we? We have a love-hate relationship with work. We kind of love work, we kind of hate work. How many of you love your job? You love your job. Anybody want to raise your hand? I got a couple of people, okay. How about this? Sandra's job is taking care of the grandbabies. Yeah. I see that. How many of you kind of go, I like my work? It's maybe not love, but I like my work. I really, let me see your hand. And the love people, I like my work. It's good. It was good. I'm not going to ask how many people hate your work because that would be embarrassing. Let me do it this way. How many people would love a day off of work for tomorrow? Anybody? Let me see. Tomorrow. That'd be just fantastic. How many people love a snow day? Do you love a snow day? And I love snow days because I love making chili on snow days, even if it doesn't work out well. I love snow days. I think snow days are so fun. And the only people I think that don't like snow days are the people who are thinking about all the work that you're going to have to do double the day you come back from snow days, right? That's the only reason we hate snow days. But other than that, who doesn't like a day off of work? We love our work. We're thankful for our work. But man, I can't wait to go on vacation. Or man, I can't wait till I finally get to retire and I don't get to work. How's that working for you, Christy? Once you retire, you don't have to work anymore, right? So that's fantastic. But once you finally get done, we have this love-hate relationship with work. We enjoy it, but we hate going to work. How annoying are the seven dwarfs? They are so annoying. Because they wake up every morning and the song they sing on the way to work is, you remember? You can sing with me, right? He goes, hi-ho, it's off to work I go. I can't whistle. I can never do the whistle part, right? Who in their right minds gets in the car, sits down and goes, hi-ho, it's back to the office I go, right? That's an annoying person, right? Who does that? Who's all excited? It's not that we hate our work. But, do we wake up every morning? The dwarfs were like mining diamonds the size of their fist. That would make me happy probably too. But beyond that, we're not just, dwarfs are kind of annoying and it's frustrating, a love-hate relationship with work. Actually, this is not something that just like we deal with, or this is just kind of a a common problem. I was doing some research earlier this week looking at historical perspectives of work. You know what's interesting? You know what one of the longest unbroken cultures in human history today is? Is the Hebrew culture, the Hebrew civilization. The longest culture of unbroken culture in civilization is the Hebrews. And the Hebrew view of work is not incredibly positive necessarily. The Hebrew view of work for many Hebrews for generations has been work is a curse of God. Remember Adam and Eve, they blew it. And because Adam and Eve blew it in the Garden of Eden, we've had to work for the rest of our lives. Work is a curse. They're not the only ones. The earliest recorded civilization, the Mesopotamian civilization, the Babylonian civilization, they have a document that's been recovered called the Enuma Elish. It's a creation document. It's a pagan religious document that explains the creation of the world from a pagan perspective. And the description or the explanation of how and why the world was created is that the pagan gods got together and created the world that we live in. And then they realized that this world is going to take a lot of upkeep to take care of the world. So Marduk, who is the chief, Marduk is the chief of the gods, kind of like Apollo or Zeus. But Marduk claimed or created humanity, created mankind, and he says, I have begot man so that the gods no longer have to work. See, work was something that was less than. Work was something that was beneath. Work was something for those people. In the Greek culture, work was not highly looked on. As a matter of fact, the Greek word for work is panos, which at its root means suffering. So work equals suffering in the Greek culture. In Greek mythology, you know where work came from? You ever heard of Pandora's box? When Zeus got angry at mankind, he created this box, this container, with all this horrible stuff in it. And he puts it in that container and sets it in the home where Pandora lives. And Pandora is tempted, and she goes over, and she can't resist temptation. She opens up the container, and out of the container comes war and pestilence and famine and plagues and all these horrible, vile things that are spread out across the world. And one of the vile things that comes out of Pandora's box is work. Romans hated work. The Romans who created and accomplished great things in aqueducts and colosseums and roads and networks. But Roman citizens felt that work was beneath them. There's actually inscriptions I was reading of this week in pagan temples in ancient Rome that still to this day say that they brag that no Roman citizen works. Work is for slaves. Work is for conquered people. We think, we accomplish, we tell them, but they do the work by the sweat of their brow. I mean, for centuries, for civilizations, work has been considered a curse. Work is considered a negative thing, a horrible thing, a destructive thing, a painful thing. That's been the idea of work. But for some reason, we still have this love-hate. I mean, we understand why we don't want to go to work. But why do we love work? I mean, work is a big part of who we are. Well, work is a lot of what identifies us. We're defined by our work. If you meet somebody brand new at a restaurant or somebody, I don't know, if you just meet somebody brand new at a party or something, and you're trying to break the ice, you're going to find out three things. What is it? What's your name? Where are you from? And what do you do? What's your name? I just need to know, who do you identify? Where do you come from? Gives me kind of context. Are you from the South, North? Where are you from? What country? But what do you do? It really helps define what we do. Our work identifies who we are. Because so much of our life is given to our work. I don't know, 75, 80% of our adult years are given to vocational work. Think about this. you will spend more time working than you will sleeping in your adult life, right? You will spend more time working than you will spend time playing in your adult life. You will, unfortunately, for many of us, we will spend more time at work than we will face-to-face with our family members. Work is a big part of what we do. Work is a big part of what defines us. Work is a big part of what takes up our time. Work is what provides for us. Work is a huge part of our life. And we have this love-hate relationship with work. I mean, I like what I do. I'm thankful for what I do. I'm thankful for what my work accomplishes and provides. But man, does work drive me nuts. And man, does work bring problems. And man, does work bring pressure. I think one of the greatest pressures in my life comes from work and work situations. I think one of the biggest drags in my life is my work and work situations. One of the things that is hurting me in my relationships and is draining the joy from my life the most is my work. And yet I'm thankful for what I have. This love-hate relationship. What do we do with that? Why is it that there's part of us that loves our work, and why is it that there's a part of us that hates our work? How do we get to a place where we can actually enjoy and delight in our work? Ecclesiastes has to say to us about this. If you've been with us in the study of Ecclesiastes, you probably won't be surprised to find out that it's not incredibly positive news from Ecclesiastes, but it's a real look. It's a very real look. It's a harsh look in the mirror, but it's an accurate description of work from a secular viewpoint. Look at chapter 4. Let's go ahead and jump in. Chapter 4, look at verse 4. It says, "Then I saw all the toil and all the skill in work that come from a man's envy of his neighbor. This also is vanity and a striving after the wind." Right? I saw all of my toil, all the sweat on my brow, all the calluses on my hand, all the aching knees and aching backs, all the migraine headaches, all that toil, all that time, all that effort that I put into it, all the skill, everything I can put into my work, it really, and we're talking about under the sun, we'll talk about this, under the sun is really the result of, well, this is what everybody else does. I'm looking around, it's what everybody else does. It's what everybody else expects. And if I'm going to get ahead, or if I'm going to be respected, or if I'm going to maintain my place in this world, this is why I work. All the sweat, all the calluses, all the migraines are because this is what's expected, what everybody else does, and if I'm going to make it in my world, I have to enter into the workforce. This is, what he would say, this is why I work under the sun. From a secular perspective, work is just what you got to do because it's what everybody does. It's necessary. It's embarrassing if you don't, and the only way you can be accepted, the only way that you can really make it financially, be accepted socially, is to work. And many times the way we do work defines our place in society, but ultimately says at the end of the day, that just gets you nowhere. In fact, he goes on and describes this a little bit more in verse 7. He says, "Again, I saw vanity under the sun." Here's the effects of work. One person who has no other. Work just makes you lonely. One person has no other, neither is son nor brother. Work brings division. Work brings separation. Work brings isolation. Yet there's no end to his toil. But while you have all this separation, all this isolation, you still got to go back the next day, and there's no end to the toil. And you work, and you work, and you work. And his eyes are never satisfied with his riches. What am I working for? I get a paycheck and I get a bigger paycheck. And my paycheck this year is bigger than my paycheck last year, but my paycheck this year still doesn't cover everything that I want. And next year when I make more than I made this year, it still doesn't cover all the needs that I have. All the riches They're never satisfied. And the crazy thing is, we never ask, for whom am I toiling and depriving myself of all this pleasure? I mean, I never even stop to think about how crazy my crazy work life is. I never even stop to think. I complain about it. I'm miserable because of it. But I never stop to ask, why am I doing this? Why am I putting in all these overtime hours? Why am I allowing myself to continually be pulled away from my family? Why do I come home after a long, extended day, scarf down some food with the wife and kids, and then spend another hour and a half to 2 hours answering emails and sending text messages just so I can show up the next morning early to get ready so that I can do a hard day's work and come home and do the exact same thing? Why is this going over? I never even stop. I just do it. I get in the rat race and I can't stop, and I'm absolutely miserable. I'm exhausted. This is what he says, work under the sun. And he says, this is vanity and a very unhappy business. Work, at its core, we kind of go, yeah, I'm thankful for my work. At its core, we go, I'm proud of my work. I think there's moments when I enjoy my work. But there's a lot of us, the most miserable part of our day, the most miserable part of our life, the most stress-inducing part of our life is not our relationships. It's not even fighting off the world. It's, I hate what my work does to me. You feel that way? I hate what my work does to my family. I hate what my work has done to my relationships. I work and I work and I work and I work. I work hard so I can provide for my family. I work crazy hours so that my family can have all the money, but when I stop and look at it, I worked hard so that we could I worked hard so we could play hard, and then I realized I spent 95% of my time away from my family so that we could have a killer vacation, but once you get on the killer vacation, we don't even know each other. What am I doing? I work to get ahead. But at the end of the day, what am I really accomplishing? This is life, this is work under the sun. This is the way it is. From a secular perspective, this is just what happens in life. This is why the Mesopotamians say work is a curse. It's demeaning, it's for other people. This is why the Greeks say work is filled with sorrow. It comes from Pandora's box. It's just a part of all the other nasty, vile things in this world. It's horrible. I was trying to think of a definition of what the writer of Ecclesiastes, what Solomon would say. How would he define work under the sun? And I got to tell you, I've been working on a definition for 4 days. I mean, I've been racking my brain. Okay, putting my sermon together, and I'm going, okay, what's a good definition to describe work under the sun? And I haven't been able to come up with a good definition. I mean, I've got thoughts. I can't define it, but I can feel it. And so these thoughts come to me like, work under the sun is mind-numbing. Work under the sun is bone-breaking. Work under the sun is soul-crushing. Work under the sun is spirit-stealing. Maybe that gets kind of close to what the writer of Ecclesiastes is talking about. It's just miserable. Life under the sun is just back-breaking, and I just feel like I'm robbed. I'm robbed in my life, but I don't know what's stolen, and I don't know why it's happening to me, but I can't stop it. I tried to define life under the sun, and I don't know why, but I couldn't come up with a good definition, and then it finally came to me. The best way to describe life under the sun, or the thought that came to my mind, is the best way to describe it is this. Life under the sun is the thorn. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I mean? Life under the sun, from a secular perspective, is the fulfillment of the promise of the thorn. What am I talking about? Got to go back to Genesis, where we see work and all this pain and suffering comes from. Go back in the book of Genesis. You know what's interesting when you start reading in Genesis? The first verse of the first book of the Bible itself says what? In the beginning, God what? He worked. In the beginning, God created. In the beginning, God worked. So work, the Babylonians say it's a curse of God. The Greeks say it's a sorrow. The Romans say it's something that is beneath them. But from a Christian perspective, a biblical perspective, we find that work is something that starts and originates with God himself. And think about that, okay? It's fascinating. Work starts with God. In the beginning, God worked. He created. How long did he create? 6 days. And then on the seventh day, he rested to set up a pattern. We talked about that. But did he rest and kind of go, I'm glad that's over? Is that why he rested on the seventh day? That was awful. Hi ho, I'm never going to work again, right? Is that what God said? Is that what it was? No. Because during those 6 days, when he worked, when he created, at the end of each day, what did he say? It's good. Work. It's good. Work. It's good. Work. That's good. Work. It's good. And then on the seventh day, he looks back on what had been done. That's good. Then he creates Adam and Eve. We talked about this a little bit last week, though. Adam and Eve, the difference between mankind and animals is God put in him the nefesh. He put in him the image of God, not the face, the facial characteristics, or the God is spirit. God put the imprint of his spirit in man. It means that the nature, the character, the desires, the impulses of God are stamped on our being. And so God creates Adam and Eve, and what does he do? He puts them in the Garden of Eden and tells them to do what? Take care of the garden in paradise. They're literal paradise. Like you don't get more paradise than the Garden of Eden. And in the Garden of Eden, in the center of paradise, he says, I want you to work. Not because you're sin. Not because I'm mad at you. Not because you're cursed. Part of the blessing of Eden was to go around and to contribute. Part of the blessing of Eden was to go around and to accomplish. Work was a good thing. Well, you know what this is. Guys, you know how it is when you work in your yard and you mow the lawn and you weed eat and you blow off the driveway. You get the beds all perfect. And then at the end of the day, you just look at it, you just go, man, that's awesome. It just, you know that feeling? You know that feeling? Just like, job well done. One of Melody's favorite things is to have the whole house perfectly clean. And it's not clean unless fresh sheets are on all the beds. And all the laundry's done and folded. Nothing in the dishwasher. Everything's in its place. And then she always gives the family the same talk every single, what's the talk? We're going to keep it exactly like this, right? And 5 minutes later, we destroy Melody's paradise in Garden of Eden. But still, it's just there's something inside, you know what, that just that feeling of everything, this just feels good. What is that? You know what that is? That's the design of God. Work is not bad. Let me tell you something interesting. This struck me this week as I was studying. Do you know how Jesus was identified? One of the main ways Jesus was identified, who he was related to. But the other main thing that identified Jesus was, he was Jesus, the son of a what? Of a carpenter. Jesus, in God's plan, identified himself with his labor. And here's what's interesting. I've never thought about this. I don't know how big deal it is, but I thought it was fascinating. Jesus spent more time as a carpenter than he did in his ministry. Just let that sink in for a second. The divine life of the Son of God sent to this earth by God's eternal design, specific crafting, designs Jesus to be identified in labor as a laborer, a carpenter. And he spent more times identified as a carpenter than he did as the rabbi. See, work is, from God's perspective, is not a curse. It's not something to be hated. It's not something to be resisted. And yet we have this love-hate relationship. I love my work, and I don't know exactly, but I do. I love a job well done. I love accomplishing something. I love being recognized for my job, but I hate going to work. Work drives me nuts. And for many of us, again, our work is the greatest source of stress, of division, of pain, of frustration. How can it be that a blessing could be such a curse? Because of Genesis. God, who is the creator who worked, stamped his image of work on us, including other things. God stamped his image of work on us. He identified his own son with work. And we bear these marks in ourselves. We bear these marks even to this day. Jesus was identified as a carpenter. You know, many of us, our surnames are identified by what our families used to do, or part of, way back. You know, your surname, your given name is, Randy. My surname is Hester. Sir is broad or expanded. So my broad name is Hester. My specific name is Randy. My broad name is Hester. There are a number of us, many of us, our identities in who we are. Not in a bad way, not because of the curse. We're identified. We have an abbot here. We have an abbot. You know what that means? It means someone who works with the abbot of the monastery. We have some Leddens here. The Leddens, I think, at least to the best of my knowledge, the Leddens are from the German word Lederer, meaning leather workers. We have potters. Potters worked with pottery. We have smiths and tanners, webbers, weavers. We have harvels. Harv is actually battle. Vol, Vi, Harvey, Harvol. Vi is noble, so noble warrior. We have Franklin, which means landowner, but not of noble birth. So Dolores, whatever Ron sold you to get you to marry him is probably not completely true. Landowner, but not of noble birth. Graftons are grove or enclosed field owners, gardeners. See, our work is not meant to be a curse. It's not meant to be a frustration. It's not meant to be a sorrow. It's designed to be a blessing. And yet, when we returned our back on God, God's curse was to bring death, pain, and childbearing, and there will be work by the sweat of your brow, and the product of your hand will no longer be grain, but will be what? Thorns. Why do we have a love-hate relationship? We love our work because God made us that way, but we hate. You know why? It's a direct consequence of the curse. It is a direct result of sin. Whenever we feel frustration, discouragement, whenever we feel futility, whenever we feel distance and isolation caused by our work, that is a consequence of sin. That's life under the sun. That's work according to secular principles. It's just the way it is. But God doesn't want us to live there. And when we reclaim, when we redeem our work, when our work is renewed by the transforming hand of Jesus Christ, our work can become other than. There's still going to be struggle, part of the curse. Still going to be effort and sweat of the brow, part of the curse. But there can be redemption of our work. Who wouldn't want the redemption? And when the redemption comes, it makes a huge difference. You know how I know? You ever heard of this? You ever heard of the Protestant work ethic? Do you know that one of the most significant impacting philosophies in all of human history is the Protestant work ethic. You know what that is? You know what you remember the Protestant Reformation? Protestant Reformation is where Martin Luther in 1517 nails 95 theses on the church and the door of the Church of Wittenberg. Basically, 95 statements saying that he was challenging the prevailing thought of the Catholic Church. And from those challenges, more and more reformers started to go, hey, wait a minute, this system of the Catholic Church, this system of theology, this system of power is not biblical. So the reformers, Luther and Calvin and Zwingli and Simons and Melanchthon, all these reformers started to go, we need to get back to what the Bible says. And so they started reclaiming biblical values. Salvation is by faith alone, they said. The authority of this world is not by the Pope or by the institution. It comes from Scripture alone. Forgiveness and love of God does not come by our works or our effort. It comes by grace alone. Christ alone is magnified, not the Pope. The glory of God alone. And they started studying the Bible, and as they studied the Bible, you know what they found? This is interesting. They started redeeming and reclaiming the concept of work. They said work is not a curse. Work is not for others. Work is for all of us. Work is godly. They said this. Protestant work ethic boils down to this. Work is the will of God for everyone. Everyone should work. The Pope should work. The noble should work. The lowly should work. Everyone should work. Everyone is designed for work. And work has equal dignity if you're cleaning out the stalls or riding on the horse. Work has equal dignity because it is all from God. And so we don't look down on whatever task. We are thankful for all people who work. The sanitation worker, the teacher, the law enforcement, and the nurse. We're thankful for all people who work. And so we don't get hoity-toity about my job is more important than you. That's not a part of what biblical understanding of work is. They said that work, according to Scripture, drives us to honesty and diligence. We have nobility in our work. We treat each other fairly in our work. Bosses, employers treat their workers with respect. Workers give their best effort for their employers. We treat all people equally and well. And finally, this was key, that in the Protestant work ethic, we invest. It's about investing, not consuming the profits. And this had huge transformational principles. The effects of this was that there was unprecedented economic advancement after the Protestant Reformation. And unprecedented personal prosperity came as a result of the Protestant work ethic. And the greatest expression of the Protestant work ethic happened in what nation? You know. It happened in America. We talk about the Judeo-Christian Protestant work ethic. Hard work. Noble work, honest work, dedicated work, unselfish work. That's what we do. And it transformed everything. So if this God-ordained, God-oriented work system makes such a difference, then what does this God-ordained work system look like? How do we redeem our work? I saw something a number of years ago. This was really helpful. This was very, very powerful for me. There's a man and a pastor out in Arkansas. His name is Robert Lewis. He was talking about work, and he said there's 8 reasons people work. This was helpful for me. He walked through. He said, okay, there's 8 different reasons for why we work. On the very bottom end, it's just because I have to, just because you're expected to. A little bit above that, sometimes we work because we have needs. I mean, sometimes we just work because mom and dad kicks us out of the house and we have to work. You just got to do it. But then we have needs. We have to buy a car. We have to buy a house. So we'll work. But then beyond that, we may have some things we want. It's not just like I got a car. I want a nice car. It's not just that I want, I want to just exist. I mean, we like to go on vacation and having those wants, so we want to work a little bit more. I'll work more hours. I'll try to get a better job so that I can get some of the things that I can enjoy. It's not bad. He said beyond that is I'll work because I desire meaning. I desire to do something that matters, something that feels substantive, something significant. He says above that is we'll work because we desire to help others. There's a little distinction. First one is I want to take care of myself. I want to feel good about myself. But then sometimes we work so that we can make other people better. We have teachers who don't just teach so you can get a paycheck, right? Right? But we work so that we can make people better, so that we can invest in people more. I got to keep going. He said another one is because I can give financially to others. The more I work, if I work hard, if I work diligently, if I get a promotion, if I handle and manage my money well instead of just consuming and consuming and consuming, but according to the Protestant work ethic, which is really just a reclamation of biblical work principles, we don't work so that we can consume and enrich ourselves. We work so that we can invest. We invest in savings. We invest in other people. So I work so I can give to people. And a higher level than that is not just so I can give and be generous to people who have needs, but sometimes we work so that if I have enough work, if I'm making enough money, I can give to institutions. I can give to ministries. I can give to missionary efforts. I can give to people who are making a difference with those people in the Ukraine or the refugees in the Ukraine. I have enough margin so that I can give to those ministries and I can make a difference. And then his top level is, the reason we work is because I want to glorify God spiritually. Or I want to glorify God and I want to spiritually impact people. Now here's the key. This is his level. I know that's a lot to it. But here's what I found interesting in this discussion. He said, the first thing you need to know is that every single one of these reasons are biblical. None of them are bad. They're all good. They're all necessary. I could give you the biblical reasons. We don't have the time. I could give you Bible verses for each of these levels, but I won't have the time. I'm not going to take the time. But here's what he says. I can give you the biblical reasons. All of these things are biblical, but here's the key. The more of these reasons that you have for why you're working, the more you're going to have a better motivation, satisfaction, and significance in your work. If you're frustrated with your work, it's probably because you only just have a couple of these areas. If you're really frustrated, you're really discouraged, it's just because you have a couple of these areas. But if you can commit yourself, connect your work for more and more reasons, the higher your level of motivation, satisfaction, and significance will come out of your work. I mean, if all you do is just work because, well, I want to get money and I want to pay my bills, you're not going to be very motivated to show up on time and work later and work hard and get advanced. But if you have reasons to not just pay my bills, but I want to have meaning. I want to advance. I want to do well in my work. Your motivation's going to go up. And if you really want to do more than that and make a difference in this world, then you're going to want to work hard, do well, pull in money, not to enrich yourself, not to aggrandize yourself, but to make a difference for God's kingdom. And when you do that, your motivation for work will be pure, righteous. It won't be frustrating. See, the writer of Ecclesiastes is describing somebody who achieves a huge level of what we consider great success, great toil, great effort, but I'm miserable. Why? Because all I did was I just want to take care of myself and I'm not worried about other people. I'm worried about myself from a worldly, a secular standpoint, not God's standpoint. The more of these that we have, the more joy and satisfaction. If all you're doing is just making money so that you can have a big car, your car is going to turn to ash in your mouth. The new car smell is going to go away pretty quick. And you're just going to want a newer, bigger car with more gadgets. But if you sit there and go, I want to accomplish these things, I want to do these things, I want to make the money, not so I can make myself feel better, but so that I can do something well in this world. you're going to find more satisfaction. You can find more significance. Okay, that's the point. That's his thought. And all I want to say is, for all of us who are working, if you're really frustrated, if you're really discouraged, if you're just like, I'm done with my stupid work, look at that list. Take a picture of that list. Text me and I'll send you this slide if you want. Look at that list and say, so what are the motivations? Why am I working? Okay, I want to have more of those, Randy. But how do I do that? Okay, so how do we build a theology? Sorry, let me go. How do we build a theology of work? One of the greatest passages for that is in Colossians chapter 3. One of the most clear, let me just finish up real quickly. One of the most clear, one of the most distinct statements on a biblical theology of worship is Colossians chapter 3. And I'll tell you, I would encourage you to do this. Get a piece of paper, get a note card, and write down these two verses, Colossians 3, 23 and 24. You're not going to be singing, hi-ho, hi-ho, it's off to work I go. But I'll tell you, write down these two verses, put them in the dashboard of your car, read these verses every day before you go to work. You got a desk at work, have these put this under the glass of your desk. Tape this on your desk. Tape this on the filing cabinet. You got a workstation, write these verses out, print them out, put them down, and read these verses every single day. This is how we build a theology of work. What does it say? Whatever you do, Paul says, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You're serving the Lord Christ. What's the theology? The theology of work from that passage is this. He says, listen, whatever you do, work serving Christ. First point of theology is understand that all your work is a calling of God. No matter where you work, no matter what you do. I just fix cars. I don't do ministry stuff like you do, Randy. Everybody's work in this room is a calling of God. My calling to do what I do is no more sacred than your calling to do what you do. We have plumbers and nurses. We have teachers. We have law enforcement. We have factory workers. We have ministry workers. We have a wide range of people who do lots of different things, and none of it is more important than the other. No one's occupation is more sacred than anyone else's. All of it is a calling of God. And where you are, whether you're stocking shelves or punching out stamps or you're handing out the proper kind of medicine, drugs, it's all a calling of God. God has you where you are. Not only that, whatever you do, work as for the Lord and not for man. So work is a calling of God, but all of our work is a working for God. What we do for God. I know that we work for somebody, or for some of us, we work for ourselves. But whatever we do, everything we do is for God Himself. We serve the Lord and not man. Your lesson plan, your project, your stocking of whatever item is done unto the Lord as a Christian. See, under the sun, in a secular standpoint, we're just working for ourselves and just trying to get by. But in a Christian standpoint, in a redeemed standpoint, from a work redemption standpoint, whatever I do is for God. I want to please God in everything that I do, which means that whatever we do it heartily as for the Lord. It's a calling of God, and my work is before God, and therefore my work deserves my best. Everything I do, whether my boss likes it or not, whether my boss is going to notice it or not, it doesn't matter. I'm going to do the best that I can, because this is a theology of redemptive work. redeemed work, of God-honoring work. This is what this is what the Reformers reclaimed. When they started reading the Bible, they go, hey, this is what work's supposed to look like. And it changed everything. And the last thing they did was this. Whatever you do, let me say this. Yeah, I forgot this. I need to tell you this. Work heartily. Give everything you have. Truett Cathy, he's from Atlanta, so me and Melody, we love Atlanta people. He's the guy that did Chick-fil-A. Oh, you're back in with me right now, right? He's the guy he's the Chick-fil-A guy. Great Christian man, great Christian company. You know what his motto is? Save 10%, give 10%, work 10% harder. That should be the expectation for Christian effort. Save 10%, give 10%, and work 10% harder. He said that's never, ever going to do you wrong. We should always work in a way that gives God our best. And lastly, whatever we do, work, knowing that from the Lord you'll receive the inheritance as your reward. Know this, all work done rightly is promised rewards from God. All work. Work's not a curse. Work's not a bummer. Work is a satisfaction and an honor. It's a blessing of God. It's a gift in paradise, for paradise. We will, did you know this? I don't have to. Did you know we will work in heaven? A lot of us go, I'm sipping lemonade on a pink cloud, or no, pink lemonade on a cloud. I don't know. But I'm gonna sip lemonade on a cloud. No, you're not. Did you know you're gonna work? We're gonna be industrious in heaven. What? I don't have time. It's amazing. This is a part of God's blessing. So all work done rightly is promised rewards from God. And remember, rewards. And yes, there will be personal wealth. There will be financial rewards. You work hard, you'll do well financially. You will. And thank God we live particularly in a day where for the most part, we can work hard, and generally speaking, we can make good money if you're willing to work. But the rewards that God has is so much more than just that. There's deep satisfaction from your work. There's deep joy. There's deep accomplishment in your work. These are things that God will reward. I may not make a ton of bank, but I'm going to leave a mark, not just in my life so that people remember. People's lives will be changed because of what I did. And we can rest in heaven for the rest of our lives knowing that what I did mattered. And mattered in the life of somebody else. There's no more deep satisfaction than something like that. This is a theology of work. And whenever we're miserable, frustrated, mad, isolated, affecting our lives, we need to go back and to say, God, am I working according to your principles or the principles under the sun, the principles of this world? Those of you in high school, working on careers, getting ready to go to college. What kind of job do you want to look for? Look for a job where you can invest your life according to God's principles. When you get into your job, it doesn't matter what you do. When you get into your job, work according to God's principles. And watch how God brings blessing and satisfaction. Transforms how we work. There's still going to be a thorn. There's still going to be sweat. It's going to be hard because of the curse. But that effort can be redeemed when we remember Jesus. Let me close by telling you this. Our work is miserable. We love it, but we hate it. And the reason we hate it is because of the curse. And the curse brought separation and thorns, envy. But Jesus Christ, listen to me, I'm done. Jesus Christ came and identified himself as a carpenter. Could have been anything, but identified himself as a carpenter. Nobilizing all work. Jesus Christ came to break the walls of separation that are caused by the principles of this world. And listen to me, I've been thinking about this all week. Jesus Christ literally took the thorns to be crushed into his skull so that he could break the chains that are ruining your life, including your work. Jesus is amazing, guys. Jesus is wonderful. And so when we go and ask Jesus to redeem us, we don't just say, redeem me so I can go to heaven. Yay, I get to go to heaven, which is enough, and that's amazing. I'm sorry if that, I don't mean to be irreverent. That's enough. Jesus says, yeah, I want to do that, but there's so much more. I want to give you life, but I want to give it to you abundantly. And I want to redeem every aspect of your life. I want to redeem your finances. I want to redeem your family relationships. I want to redeem your work effort. He's worthy. And he died on the cross so that your work can mean something. What a mighty God we serve. Bow your heads. I'm going to ask the praise team to come up. We're just going to end. They're just going to sing us out. I want to pray. And there's no call this morning other than this. I want all of us just to bow our hearts before the Lord. People that are online, people that are here, I want us to bow our hearts before the Lord. And I want you to ask yourself, what work are you going to be doing this week? Some of us are retired and we say, well, I don't work anymore. And if you're retired, you know that that's just not true. There's tons of work you're going to be doing. We're going to be working all the time. Some of us are doing other projects, or it's working around the house, or it's working to keep up with the grandkids. There's all kinds of work. What work are you going to do? What kind of vocational work? For some of us, the work is going to be homework and classwork. That's the place God has called you. That's where God has you. It's work. It's not vocational work, but it's work that prepares you for your vocation. But it is the place that God has you. God's called you there. And so your work, your schoolwork, your homework should be done to the glory of God, knowing that God is watching. And you should do your best in your schoolwork, in your factory work, in your stock work, in your office work, in your calls, or the customers who come to you. All of our work is a part of God's design and an opportunity for us to experience the blessing, to advance God's kingdom, and to be able to gather the resources that don't just make a difference in our lives where we're more comfortable, but we can make a difference in the lives of other people. And if we really put our mind to it, we can make a difference in the lives of ministries, exponential levels of ministries and movements. We want to do all these things to the glory of God. Some of us, God, this week are just so fed up and sick of stupid work. If I could do anything in my life and get out of it, it would be my work. And yet that just reveals the fact that we are not surrendering our work to the principles of the Word of God. We're surrendering our work to the principles of this world. And that just leads us to toil and emptiness and to striving under the sun. Nothing good comes from it. So, dear God, this week, may we stop right now and take these principles from Colossians 3. Surrender to a biblical theology, a redemptive approach to what we do and who we are and how we're identified, even in our work. Use these things, dear God. Use these things to make a difference this week for all of us. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask us just to stand. Would you stand with me? And I want to sing the first verse. I'm going to ask Kim and the team to lead us. Stand. We're just going to sing the first verse of O Church Arise because I love this song. And then they're going to sing the rest of the song while we go. We're going to sing this first verse. Here you go, Kim.
Church, arise and put your armor on. Hear the call of Christ our captain. For now the weak can say that they are strong in the strength that God has given. With shields of faith and belt of truth, we'll stand against
mirror, put them on your desk, write those verses down, and see what difference that makes in how you redeem your work this week through the work of Jesus Christ. God bless you. Come back next week. Heritage Day. Got to be a lot of fun. And bring some good food. That'll be great. God bless you. Have a wonderful day. Team, sing us out.